People ask Reddit. What is a supernatural event that happened in your life that just cannot be explained? About a week before I graduated high school, my family had a massive house fire. We lived out in the country, and no one was home, so by the time anyone noticed it was on fire, it was way too far gone. 30 feet flames above the roof. We lost everything, but had insurance and no one got hurt. Anyways, I was in a chemistry class at the time that around 70% of the grade centered around a lab notebook that was graded all at once at the end of the semester. You would do labs every week, and then do lab write-ups in the notebook. I had been slacking off and was way behind on the assignment and would have had to pull a few all-nighters just to turn something in. The day after the fire, I went into class and told my teacher that the notebook had went up in the fire and that I had no idea how I would ever turn the assignment in. He was extremely nice about it. Told me not to worry and gave me 100% on the whole assignment. Just said that I had bigger things to worry about and was about to graduate, and that he hoped my family was doing okay. Well, the notebook was in my car the whole time. Threw that bitch away and swore myself to secrecy. I was in high school. I had problems talking to people. I was the shy kid. I found out my cousin went to the same school, and I saw that he was on the same boat. He was a lot more social, and a lot more funny, but he just didn't click with people. Just me. We became best friends, had a blast at lunch every day. One day a girl invited to go eat sushi, and I was stoked. I had plans with my cousin, tradition you may say, and just bailed on him. I was like, yo, this really cute girl asked me to eat sushi with her, and although he was upset, he was like, cool, have fun. Well, when it was time to go eat, I went with the girl, and some people told her they were gonna go eat at X place, but they only had room for one more in their car. The girl without hesitating said yes, and just got in and left me. I was scared to walk through the hallways, scared to run into my cousin. I didn't have the gut to tell him what just happened. I passed by the library and saw him there, sitting alone, passing time. Broke my heart, I left him. Never again. Brothers before everything. One Christmas I was 9 years old and knew that Santa wasn't real, but for my 7-year-old brother the fantasy was very much alive and good. We shared a room, and my brother woke up on Christmas morning and looked confused that Santa had not eaten the Kit Kat that had been left out. He went quiet and I could see that he was working the facts through in his head. When he wasn't looking, I ate the Kit Kat and showed him the wrapper and claimed he imagined seeing the wrapper unopened. This was 26 years ago, and I have not told him in case he works out Santa is not real. When I was in high school, a friend confided in me that they had problems with cutting. Showed me recent marks. We had a long talk. I went to the counselor of the school and told them a couple days later. I was a teen. I struggled with the choice, but ultimately the fear of losing my friend won. Long story short, they ended up in a mental facility for a month and came back, absolutely baffled as to who ratted him out. Decided it was probably a different friend. Well, I married him. He still doesn't know. I was on mushrooms, the special kind, when my mother killed herself. I spent the night surrounded by the police in the hospital, and it has always really ducked me up. I thought about creating a throwaway to make this post, but duck it. About 20 years ago I worked for a big publisher. They were upgrading all their tech and just dumping it in a skip. I asked a security guy if I could take some stuff from the skip, and he said to help myself as it was all going to get crushed anyway. During a night shift I filled up my car with a beige G3/Quadra Apple Macs, keyboards, mice and some 19 Formex screens. Some of the Macs had Quark Express and Photoshop on them. I cleaned them up and sold the lot. I made enough to buy a G4 Quicksilver of my own, which I still have today. I didn't tell my coworkers, ex-wife, managers or anyone else. My mom left me to be homeless while still in high school to move out of state with an abusive, to me, new husband. When I finally got back in touch with them 3 years later, they gifted me one of his prized possessions, a car. It was kind of an olive branch. Problem was, as a barely 20-year-old with a minimum wage job living in DC, I couldn't afford to plate it, inspect it, insurance, gas or taxes on it, nothing. Still full of hatred for this man and therefore somewhat out of spite, I sold it to a coworker friend whose big family desperately needed it for probably 10% of what it was worth. Told my stepdad and mother that I got in an accident and it cost $400 to tow and my insurance only covered blah blah. It's been 11 years. My first job in high school, I had been there for a couple of years. Some new kid came in and told a bunch of lies to the owner about stuff I had done at work. I wasn't questioned, just let go immediately. On the kid's next shift, my best friend and I went and placed large nails up against all of his tires so when he drove forward they would go right into his tires. I hear he had to replace all 4. That was 20 years ago and I still side eye when I see him around town. When I was 9, my dad and I were reading Reader's Digest and found a magazine subscription card for a free case of Depends adult diapers, so we wrote my uncle's name and address down and put it in the mailbox. He got it a couple weeks later and called everyone in the family to find out who it was. We knew my uncle was fuming, so we kept it to ourselves. To this day, everyone suspects that it was my other uncle. As a kid, I grew up in a small country community of 3,000 people. Where I went to school, etc. I had a crush on a girl who was 2 years older than me all the way through high school. And when I was 16 I found out she was my half-sister as my dad had cheated on my mom. This only came out when she turned 18 and found out who her dad was. Prior to that no one knew and my dad and her mom had kept it a secret for 18 years. Completely ducked with me for quite a while that I'd had a crush on my half-sister for a number of years. I used to work in a shopping center. One time as I was walking into the building I sneezed and totally shit myself. I was about 10 steps away from the shop so I had to think fast. I took a hard left turn and walked direct into a department store. I only had $5 on me so I beelined for the underpants section and got the cheapest pair I could find. I then had to go to the center toilets and sort everything out. It was a real mess. I texted my boss and told them I was stuck in traffic, but in reality I was 100 meters away trying to salvage any shred of dignity I could for the next 20 minutes. I'm happy to say the mission was a success and that day is now the benchmark by which all other days are measured. Every day since has been infinitely better. I got super drunk at a wedding, went back to a mate's place and slept in the car, woke up very early in the morning with urge to poop and realized they locked the house. I pooped in the garden and covered it up like a cat. When I was in elementary school, I once lost something so I asked to go to the lost and found. In the lost and found room, which was a big storage closet, they also stored the Cokes for the pop machines. I took one. Then, probably 3 to 4 times a week, I'd remember I lost something else and go steal another Coke. I don't know how long I did this for, but I got a lot of free Coke. Probably 15 years ago my sister had a gerbil and one day I decided to bring it out of her cage and surprise her in the living room with it. Somehow I slipped on carpet and the gerbil went flying headfirst into the wall. It basically sounded like I threw a golf ball at the wall and the gerbil wasn't moving. Naturally I put it back in its cage and removed myself from the vicinity. To my amazement the damn thing was still alive and moving around a few minutes later and lived another 2 years without anyone ever knowing that I basically Kobe'd it into the wall at full speed. My dad was single and a couple of my friends' moms was always bringing us food. My dad would say they were just being nice cause he was a single guy raising 3 kids by himself. My aunt picked me up from school sick and we head home. She must have known what was up and had me wait in the car. Both of my friends' moms came out half dressed and shipped with my aunt yelling at my dad. I never did tell out of fear. One mom was divorced but one wasn't and I was afraid of tearing their family apart. We'll take it to my grave. I didn't know my best friend's name for almost 10 years. She goes by Katie almost exclusively and got it in my head early on that it was short for Caitlin. Imagine my surprise when I heard her being referred to as Catherine at our convocation. No right way to bring that one up in a conversation. Thank you for listening to another B-Town Reddit Stories episode. Hit the subscribe button and check out our channel for more stories. Let us know your opinion about this topic in the comments.